All right, 2024 is in the books, and what a way to close it out with Fierce Fighting Championship 36. Zach, anything specific that really flew off for you? I guess we can kick things off with the first fight, Caleb Lee and Sam Deitman.
Sam, for the scouting report we got on him, Caleb was pretty green, Sam was pretty green, was what we heard, and the confidence and swagger he carried in the cage, he looked like a seasoned veteran. Tell me Sam Deitman versus Talon Carvalho wouldn't interest you.
Oh no, that would be great.
You know what I mean? He looked like somebody that had 3 or 4 fights under his belt and was a athlete. And I thought Caleb showed a lot of toughness in that fight. Finally, it was a body shot that did him in, but super tough, fun fight. Sam looked really impressive. He looked a lot more advanced than a normal debuter, and we'll just leave it at that.
Similar to that is Aspen Kobayashi, who comes away with the win as well over Marco Ramirez. And we saw how good Marco looked in November, but Aspen Kobayashi able to find a fold in his game that was just a couple steps ahead of Marco.
Yeah, Aspen, we've talked about it. I think Marco, one thing for him, I love the activity. But I think when fighters go like back-to-back like that, and he'd been asking to fight for a while, and I know he was chomping the bit. He had the big win against Austin Dew on just short notice and everything, and he'd already signed for this fight. But when win or lose as a young amateur, I don't really feel like you grow during camps. You grow in between camps.
Sure.
And I felt like it ended up being an advantage for Aspen that Marco took that first fight, because Aspen knew exactly what Marco was about, and Marco had to find out in the cage what Aspen, liked and stuff. And Aspen and his corners and his coaches picked up on they had a good game plan for Aspen, and Aspen did a good job executing it. And another, pretty well composed, I would say. Dude, Aspen's been training less than 6 months. Like, little Talon Carvalho-ish. Bring him up again.
Sure.
Comes out, training, takes a fight pretty quick. And it was one of those things where it was just like, man, this seems kind of quick, but like, dude, he's hanging with the guys that like in the room, that Ammon Garcia's in the room, and having good rounds, and he's tough, and he showed he was tough. Showed his athleticism, and had some really great takedowns for a kid that's primarily a striker. So good debut performance. Back to the drawing board for Marco, but I love that Marco is just hungry and chomping at the bit to be back again soon. So I'm sure we'll see him again soon.
Alan, Aragon, RJ, Wilgar, as Alan comes away with the win. We saw a lot more wrestling from him this time around. He had a lot to say in that post-fight interview, Zach.
Here's the thing. When you take a fight on 5 days' notice, 6 days' notice,
sure,
up a weight class against, they're both moving up, right? They're both welterweights, and that's fine. But when you do that, for me, your stock kind of goes up. But when you do that and then you come out and perform and can go 9 minutes, he didn't get an early finish. Like, he was in shape.
Yeah.
That was really impressive. I thought Alan's stock went up considerably. And he's really grown, from his very first loss that he had at that Challenger Series, and then, to his first win at a Challenger Series at Heber, where he primarily just wrestled and just did a lot of kind of just laying and controlling. Then he gets the big knockout. And then he showed, like, tonight I felt like he showed his striking and stuff, and he is evolving as a mixed martial artist, and you only do that if you're in the gym all the time. And then if you're in the gym all the time, you have the ability to take some opportunities. And he called for a title fight. Unfortunately for him at this moment, the title is already being competed for. In February, it's already contracted. But if anything happens to either opponent, I know just the man to call now. I'd like to get him a fight on a full camp soon, a number one contender type fight, because he absolutely earned it. And that was a very impressive performance. RJ Wilgar, people talk about the guy who takes the fight on short notice. I don't think they take enough about the guy that was in camp preparing for one guy and then switching to another on short notice. RJ was fighting somebody that I think I just drew a blank on RJ's original opponent for some reason.
It was, oh my gosh, I'm blanking on it too. RJ Wilgar versus Tyler Trump.
Trump, out of Syndicate, whatever. I thought RJ took a fight up a weight class against a guy that was considerably heavier, a wrestler, and with a better record, and quite frankly, a tougher matchup. So, I think RJ has to get, to me, RJ doesn't lose anything off taking that loss. That's a good experience for him. I was impressed with both of them.
Jason Urle, Walker Pelto, and what a finish by Jason Urle. It just took 44 seconds for him to submit the former state champion.
Well, that's, it's not even just, that wasn't, it's not like a stylistic matchup of a striker versus a grappler. That was that's a wrestler versus jiu-jitsu, and that could just happen. And, Jason has a very dangerous guard there, and Walker just went in for, something that's his bread and butter with one of those takedowns, and he just left his neck open. And Jason, having the experience, here's the reality. Walker's on a tear, and here's the thing in sports. Everybody wants the fairy tales, but especially in MMA, it's pretty rare, right? And it would have been really cool if Walker could have done that. But the reality is he still fought 4 times 6 years. He's still 4 times in 6 months. He still is incredibly young, incredibly talented, with a great work ethic, great kid. Like all the boxes are still checked with Walker Pelto. He's just fine. Where Jason, he showed his experience. He's been doing MMA longer. He's been doing jiu-jitsu. He has more fights. He has kickboxing. Jason's experience, I think, and just capitalizing on the moment. And here we are, Jason Urle on back-to-back early first-round submission wins. I'm looking forward to his title defense because it's going to be another step towards him. But you got to give it to Jason and give him a lot of credit for what he's done back-to-back performances.
David Kim, Reband Daga go to a decision in one of the best title fights I think I've ever seen. The transitions, the grappling exchanges, if you enjoy that side of MMA, that was an absolute treat for anyone.
Which I do, and I know you do too.
Yep.
The transitions on the ground were absolutely sick, and I told Davis this in the cage, and I was talking about it with his coaches after as well. Looked unbelievable in the first round. Almost got the finish, I think, with that head and arm. I think most people tapped to that.
Close.
And Reese was so tough, and he's such a dog. And that second round comes out, and David starts kind of fading a little bit, and I started having flashbacks to the Edgar Sordo fight.
We talked about it on the broadcast.
And it just felt like this could slip, right? And David has all this momentum, and this could slip. And then David, in a true martial art competitor's, I've told you this before, and we're going to talk about this when we talk about Fight of the Years. I love fights that somebody wins early, the momentum shifts, and then the guy that wins shifts it back. And that's exactly what David did. He won the rounds early. He lost 3 and 4 on the judges' scorecards. I actually thought he lost 2 and 3. The judges had David 1, 2. They had Reese 3, 4.
Really?
And then David 5. Maybe somebody misspoke, but that's what I was told.
Okay.
So, but regardless, it went David, Reese, back to David. And I love those fights. And what was so crazy, it's 2-2 going into the 5th, and David gets the moment, and then Reese, gets, reverses, and it's back. But David, I think, put the finishing touches on those last 20 seconds, getting mount, full ground and pound, violent, very, that was super impressive by David Kim, because Reese gave him everything he could handle and a little bit more, and David found a way to win.
Steve Farragher came up to me and told me specifically it was the final 10 seconds of the fight that shifted the tide into his favor. So go until the bell rings, I guess.
Heart of a champion, and to be honest, I know we're going to talk about talk about it, but I mean, I think David Kim moving down to flyweight and fighting Lance Regenbald, depending on how if Lance is healthy and ready to go after his fight this weekend, I'd love to see that fight.
Mark Gonzalez, Igor Lakicevic comes away with the win. Is Mark Gonzalez in a 5-round war. Lots of grappling, lots of striking between the two of them. It was a good one.
That was the best Mark has ever looked. Go watch his fights. He came forward. He let his hands go. His jab got super active. That low leg kick was money for him all night. Igor was pretty tough. He was trying to play it off, but I thought it was like he did one where he kind of brushed at his shin like it was nothing, but then immediately switched his stance so Mark couldn't kick it again. I thought that was really ironic and funny. Igor was tough and he was strong and he's exactly what Mark needed before he made the decision to go pro. He's 38 years old. AMI heavyweight amateurs, hit us up. We have a vacant title, it seems like. Mark, I thought that was an incredible performance for him to cap his amateur career off of. He looked better than he ever has.
Speaking of the end of amateur careers, we go over to Michael Trunzo, who has a successful pro debut over Eric Tier.
Yeah, I mean, the fight, it's just, Eric is so game and he's so fun and it gets a little wild, right? And Mike engaged in that until, I think very smartly, he just took the fight to the ground where he had the advantage and good for Mike. Got the job done. Happy for him. Eric Tier, back to the drawing board. His energy was a little different this time. The Mickelson fight, he just seemed so just enjoying the moment. And there's, I don't know, a little different energy. But good for Mike Trunzo. One of my main training partners. Good for him. Happy to see him get the win.
Kent Mafileo TKOs his way to another victory over Ruben Roundstone. Possibly the performance of the night, one of them, no doubt about it. Kent Mafileo.
I mean, Andy Boquette came up to me after the show and just said, he's like, do you think putting your back on the cage and trying to curl up and let Kent tee off on you is a good strategy to win? I was like, no, I don't. That was, I don't know if Ruben was just trying to conserve energy, if he was trying to see if Kent would blow his wad. I mean, Ruben is tough and durable. We know this. But you can't just let a guy that hits as hard as Kent and is as crafty and as intelligent. Kent was extremely with how charged up he was, which maybe not a bad strategy. He was real fired up last night. Yeah. Maybe you sit there and go, maybe he does blow his wad and he, and Ruben can find a second round finish or something. And maybe that was in the back of Ruben's head. But Kent, pro's pro, been at the higher level, showed his experience, I thought, and didn't just recklessly start teeing off. Yeah. Kept resetting, was pacing himself, picking shots, not just head hunting, going to the body, doing multiple things to nice, thanks. Doing multiple things to make sure you get the finish. And Ruben just could not establish anything to get Kent's respect to slow him down.
Joel Haro versus Hunter Azure. I know it ends in a finish, and typically we don't do that, but it's got to be one of the fights of the night, right? Back and forth they went. Joel hurt Hunter. Obviously, Hunter comes away with the submission victory.
I mean, that was an unbelievable fight. Yeah. Like it's the type of fight that, I want Fierce to be known for, that our pro main event title fights, when we have them on, are have regional implications to get back to a show. And I think Hunter, I think he showed a level of, with his striking, I know he has the reputation of wrestling, and I had people leading up to me tell me this, that, Hunter's kind of boring. I've seen him fight a couple times. I don't think he's boring, but that's kind of the reputation he had with a heavy grappling style. And he came out to trade with Joel. He looked sharp. But one thing that was really interesting, I thought Joel looked fantastic. I thought Joel was doing a lot of things really well. And even when Hunter was catching him, it wasn't deterring him from the game plan. And you can just see how Hunter was a big step up for Joel. That was a big step up from where he was at. And I thought Joel showed that he was on that level. It's really hard for a show like us, where we all know Joel personally, and we know how good of a person he is and how much we all love Joel. Like literally the entire Utah MMA community loves Joel, looks up to him, but not because he's such a great fighter, but because he's such a great person. So I know we're all pulling for him, but man, it was really easy to be happy for Hunter after. Very gracious in winning, great champion. It was really sweet to see his wife and his mom and dad sitting front row, right behind you guys in the booth, and they were so nice. And Hunter just had a good crowd come out with him, and a performance that I feel like both guys should just be really proud of, because they absolutely capped off an incredible show, and they showed they were top of the food chain type guys at this 135-pound division.
Great show, an even greater year at large. 2025 is going to be special as well. January 20th, Zach, obviously.
January 24th.
24th?
Blake Urle. January 20th would be a Tuesday, sir.
Oh, my bad. January 24th. My apologies on that. Oh, tickets are on sale December 20th.
Correct.
That's what it is.
Next Friday, December 20th, tickets on sale. Main event, Julian Ruiz is back.
Nice on the pronunciation there.
Against Kaleo. I don't know how to say his last name yet, but really exciting fight between two fantastic strikers. Zeke Loftu's back. The Mamone brothers are both back on the card. Ricky defending his title. Nicole Fuga is back after almost, 18 months, 2 years?
About 2 years.
She's back. There's so many great fights on this card. I cannot wait.